Hello, my name is Jared Schaffner, principal at Onalaska High School. Welcome to the Onalaska High School class of 2024, and welcome also to the parents of the class of 2024. In this program today, I'm going to share a few different things that we need you to know about how our virtual schedule will work, as well as how some of the other pieces at Onalaska High School will work. We will do another updated orientation prior to coming back for in-person learning, just in time for that. So we won't focus on any of those items today. We'll save that for when it gets closer. First thing I want to share with you is that high school is such an exciting time. You have so many more choices to choose from a class standpoint. There are so many different clubs and athletic opportunities, different co-curriculars for you to be involved in, which you'll learn more about. It's a chance for a brand new beginning. A former middle school principal that I used to work with always said that no one will ever ask you for your middle school transcript. And he was certainly right. The key thing to know about that is if you haven't been as successful as you've needed to be up to this point, this is a chance for a brand new beginning. This is a chance to start over and develop new habits. And if you are a student that's been successful up to this point, this is really a chance to remember the good habits that you've had that have helped you be successful moving forward. So just think about that as a freshman year, brand new chance to start. Everything starts preparing now for that life after high school. As you have questions during the actual meeting, we answered them through the chat. But if you have questions from today, please feel free to email your son or daughter's counselor, or you can email me, Jared Schaffner, the principal, and we'll answer any of the questions that you have. We have 3 school counselors at Onalaska High School. They're similar in some ways to what you've experienced in elementary and middle school with the school counselors. These people will be in your classrooms to lead some general instruction. But more importantly, they'll be working individually with you on your 4-year plan in preparation for your life after high school. So that part will look quite a bit different than what you're probably accustomed to. But Mrs. Gamoki works with our students who have last names A through HD. Mrs. DeLong works with students from the middle of the alphabet, HE through P. And Mr. Horman then works with our students with last names Q through Z. All 3 of them are available for students to schedule appointments with, whether that's in person or virtual. Some faces behind some of the names and the voices you'll hear on the phones. Mrs. Turner is our attendance secretary. Mrs. Dirks works in our main office. Mrs. Fugina is the person you'll talk to if you have any questions about any of our co-curricular opportunities. So if it's an athletic, if it's a club, if it's show choir, if it's band, Mrs. Fugina is the person that can answer those questions. And then Mrs. Nelson and Mrs. DeBoer are in our student services office and work with students on a wide variety of activities. As mentioned, my name is Jared Schaffner. I'm the principal. My wife and I live in Onalaska. We have 3rd grade boys at Northern Hills this year, twins. We also have a daughter that's starting 4K at one of our partner sites. Mr. Ely is our associate principal, and Mr. Thierry is our activities director. The most important thing I really want to go over with you is what our student day will look like in the 100% virtual environment. This was emailed to students and parents last week. We also will provide a hard copy for students this week when they pick textbooks and materials up on Thursday or Friday. But let's just go over it so we're on the same page with it. On the top, you'll notice there's 2 different definitions. So there's that live learning, which is real time. So this is when you're logged into your Zoom meeting with your teachers, the other students are there, your teacher is teaching, you're asking questions. That's that live learning, the gray areas, which you can see throughout Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then you'll also notice this blue area, that's that independent learning or that self-study. This looks more like what online looked like last spring in terms of the resources are there and you're working at your own pace on them. When we look at our student week, you'll notice that on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, there are 4 class periods each day. Monday and Thursday are odd-hour courses, hours 1, 3, 5, and 7. And then Tuesday are our even-hour courses, 2, 4, 6, and 8. And then again on Friday, hours 2, 4, 6, and 8. You'll notice that between, so some students have said, what do I do between 7 and 8? Between 7 and 8, you make sure that you're ready for learning. So obviously you're waking up with enough time to spare. you're brushing your teeth, you're having breakfast, you're doing whatever else you need to do to be ready. And then promptly, right before 8 o'clock, you're into your first Zoom meeting so that when 8 o'clock starts, you're ready for class. And then you're in first hour from 8 to 8:45. There's a 15-minute break. Third hour, there's a longer break, half hour. By all means, this is where you need to be getting up, moving around. Maybe you take a walk around the block, whatever it is you need to do. And then you come back for hours 5 and 7. And again, there's that 15-minute break between fifth hour, the end of fifth hour, and the start of seventh hour. So some key things to know. During these class periods, two things are happening. One, you need to have your screens turned on your Chromebook, or if you're using your own device, on your own device. You need to be clearly in the screen so that your teacher can see you and know that you're engaged, can see if there's confusion, and so you can be part of an active class. So you need to have your computer screens on and you need to be in them. And then the second thing is that just like during regular school, we will take attendance during this time. So for example, if you're not in your first hour class, you would be marked unverified. You'd be marked absent. If you wake up, you have a horrible case of the stomach flu, and you know that even in virtual, you won't be able to participate in class, that's where mom or dad or whoever you live with would need to call you in, just like they would last year when you were at Onalaska Middle School. We're going to talk more about Wednesday in just a minute, and we're going to talk more about the afternoon. But this is the morning schedule that you need to be aware of. The other thing to think about is that let's pretend that you have first hour U.S. history. So you have first hour U.S. history from 8 to 8:45. In the afternoon, you will also have U.S. history to work on, as well as work from your classes from 3rd, 5th, and 7th. But on Monday and Thursday, you should only have to work on your classes for 1, 3, 5, and 7. Let's pretend that you have English 9 during second hour. Let's pretend you have English 9 during second hour. You would not have to work on English 9 in the afternoon on Monday. You would work on second hour English 9 in the afternoon on Tuesday. So it's all a matter of keeping it limited on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday to 4 classes and 4 classes to keep your focus more narrow, to hopefully prevent a sense of feeling overwhelmed with 8 classes. In the afternoons, a great resource for you is that from 12:30 until 2 o'clock, all teachers will have office hours. Between 12:30 and 1:15, it's by appointment. So you could book an appointment with a teacher, or you could simply pop in during the open office hours from 1:15 to 2. So for example, let's say that I have first hour algebra on Monday. In the afternoon, I start working on algebra after lunch. I'm getting confused. I'm not quite sure what to do. That's where I could pop in and talk to my algebra teacher and get the assistance that I need. Wednesday looks quite a bit different. The first thing to know is that on Wednesday, all of your classes will post a short lesson, something, an activity of 15 to 30 minutes, something that will give you more support, more direct instruction in whatever class you're in. However, we also have something called a resource period 1 and a resource period 2. The resource period is something that we normally have during regular school on Wednesdays and Thursdays. In this case, we're doing 2 of them, though, just on Wednesday during our virtual period. For example, let's say in English 9, we're working on thesis statements for our essays. And let's say Mrs. Vogler is your English teacher. Mrs. Vogler might say, I know many of you are struggling with your thesis statements. Everyone who needs extra support or extra help with thesis statements should come to resource period 1 with me. Or maybe Miss Simon, your biology teacher, says, we have a test later this week in biology on our first unit, the ecology unit. Because of that, I'll host a study session for all interested students in that second resource period that want to be better prepared for the test. Sometimes students might be required to come. For example, let's say we took a quiz in algebra and I did poorly on it. I'm not understanding it, and my teacher wants to reteach portions of that area for us to be better prepared. The teacher might share, you need to come to this resource period, which is just like how we run it during the school year. Your next question might be, well, Mr. Schaffner, how do I know if I'm required? Or you might say, how do I know if my son or daughter is required? We'll share that information before our first resource period. This won't happen for another 2 weeks because of having 4-day weeks for the first 2 weeks of the school year. One other piece I want to mention is that we know that some students really struggled last spring with not having structure, with not having, for example, times to check in, with not having hard deadlines. Students that really struggled last spring will have extra support in the afternoons this year, where you'll be working with other students and a staff member at OHS to stay on, to make sure that you're getting your work done, you're preparing for tests, and you're moving forward. One key thing that some freshmen sometimes struggle with when they transition to OHS is that if I'm not doing my work, if I'm not preparing for tests, if I don't pass the class, what that means is I have to repeat the course in almost every case. So if I fail a core class, for example, US history, biology, English 9, or algebra, the answer is now I am now repeating that course either during summer school or I'm taking it next year with next year's freshmen. So it's imperative that we not fall behind, and it's imperative that we keep moving forward. Some key details. We want you to get in the habit of checking your email at least twice a day once school starts. So checking it once in the morning and checking it once in the afternoon. Parents will also be doing a short lesson on just how to draft and send an email based on our learning experiences last spring with email. So that'll be something that'll be a short universal lesson for all students. As I mentioned, during class time, your screens need to be turned on. The Zoom links for your classes will be, the Google Classroom links will be sent to you, and then the Zoom links will be ready to go at the very latest by the 31st, next Monday. We want you to have your Google Classroom notifications turned on. And then any questions you have or frustrations you're having with technology, we want you to call our main office or our student service office so that we can work with you to figure out what the problem is and how we can best support you. We also understand that there will be technology issues. We understand that your internet will all of a sudden be dropped at your house. That happens to all of us. Two key things to know also. The first 2 weeks of school, we don't have a Monday because we start on Tuesday, September 1st, and then we don't have school on Monday, September 6th because of Labor Day. So because of that, we're going to move Monday and Tuesday back one day. I'm going to jump back quick to the schedule just so we can see it on here. So what that means is because we don't have Monday, we're going to make odd hour courses on Tuesday and Thursday the first 2 weeks. We're going to make your even hour courses on Wednesday and Friday. So the easiest way to think about this is we're just going to take Monday and Tuesday and slide them over a day. So that again, on Tuesday when we start, September 1st, as well as on September 8th, those will be hours 1, 3, 5, and 7. And then 2, 4, 6, and 8 will move to Wednesday. So we won't have this Wednesday schedule until the Wednesday, September 16th. That's when we'll start with that whole schedule, since we'll have a 5-day week at that time. This is what a typical freshman schedule might look like. Notice you should have your schedule by this point. They were sent to you on Monday, and you certainly have many of the same classes, just in a different order. But key things to look for is that you should see that you have a social studies class first semester and second semester. You should see that you have a Phy Ed class, PE 9. You should also see that you have this wellness PE lab somewhere. The only thing that you should be aware of is that if you took a course in summer school, then you wouldn't see it on your schedule for first semester. So for example, some of you took US history in summer school. In that case, you won't see history on your schedule. If you took PE 9 on your schedule or in summer school, you won't see PE 9 on your schedule for first or second semester. One question we frequently get is, why do I have two classes listed in the same hour right here where it says wellness PE lab? They're both in 7th hour. The reason for that is that the wellness course, the first one is a quarter credit of health. The second one is a quarter credit of PE. So it's the same exact course. You won't notice any difference whatsoever. It's just a matter of how it goes on to your transcript. But you have your first semester courses, you have your second semester courses on the bottom. You'll notice that there are the lunches in for when we come back for in-person learning. So again, you want to make sure that you have a history or a social studies class each semester, a science class each semester, a math class each semester, and an English class each semester. You also should be knowing that many students will have a study hall, and know that if you take a study hall each of your 4 years, you still can graduate no problem after 4 years with more than enough credits. So don't worry about, do I have room for a study hall? The answer is most likely you certainly do. One note is that even in virtual, study halls will still meet. So for example, this student has a study hall third hour with Mr. Yashinsky. Mr. Yashinsky will send his study hall a Zoom link. Students will Zoom in. The first day they'll introduce themselves to Mr. Yashinsky. Mr. Yashinsky will share his expectations. And then after that, students will always meet during third hour with Mr. Yashinsky to work on work. Just again, double checking to make sure you have these pieces in your schedule, again, unless you took them in summer school. Sometimes those students will say, I don't like my schedule, can I change it? We won't change schedules because you want a class move to a different hour or because you want to be with a friend. There are a lot of different pieces that go with having 950 students in 8 different hours. So we can't make schedule changes for those reasons. We will make schedule changes if a student's in a class where they haven't met the prerequisite for the course. We'll certainly make a change if they've been placed into a class they've already taken. So for example, if you took U.S. history in summer school and it's still in your schedule, we will absolutely correct that. Or for example, if suddenly you ended up with more than one study hall per semester and you say, can I move a course from second semester? We'll do that also. You can drop an elective class within the first 5 days of school. However, when you drop it, at that point, you're adding for a study hall. If you would drop and try to add a new course, you're already a week behind at that point, which won't work. Mr. Ely, our associate principal, is responsible for our attendance. He works with Mrs. Turner, the secretary who you met earlier in this presentation. Again, her communication is right here in terms of her phone number as well as her email address. We will be taking attendance in Power School, just like it looked like in middle school. Keep in mind that we'll also mark tardies, and just again, like you did in middle school. And regardless if we're online or in person, being in class and being there on time is incredibly important. It's important to mention too that if we were having this parent orientation in a quote normal year, one of the first things that we would tell students is don't stress about being late that first week. It's easy to turn the wrong way down the hallway, forget which class I'm going to, get lost. That's a common thing, and we won't mark tardies. The same thing next week with a virtual start. We know that some students will have trouble getting on. You might go to the wrong class by accident, mistakes. So don't worry next week about being tardy. We'll certainly work to make sure that it's as smooth of a start as possible, and I don't want that to be a stressor for you. Some key academic behaviors to know. In math, U.S. history, and biology, you'll have something called an insurance policy. Parents, you'll see that in the grade book. You'll also notice it's not graded. You also might have a son or daughter say, well, I don't have to do this because it's not graded, it's optional. They're right when they say that, but they're wrong when they say they shouldn't do it. Here's how it works. If I take my U.S. history test and I'm not prepared for it and I don't do well, I can't say to my teacher, Mrs. Socia, I want to retake my test. I don't have the opportunity to retake it. Same thing in math, same thing in biology. However, the insurance policy is basically a review. So the important thing it does is as I'm doing that insurance policy, if I'm finding out that I really don't know the content that's on the insurance policy / review, if I'm finding that I'm looking in my book frequently for answers and I'm just not understanding it, that's a great check for me as a student to know I'm not prepared for this test. I need to study more for the test. If I go through that insurance policy and feel, wow, I really know what I'm doing, I'm likely going to be doing pretty well on the test. If I do the insurance policy and turn it in by the designated time by the teacher, I have the option to retake the test if I do poorly on it. So if I do the insurance policy, A, I find out if I'm ready for the test, and B, I can go into the test knowing no stress. If I don't do as well as I want to, I can still retake it. Key thing though, if I don't do the insurance policy, I lose that opportunity to do a test retake. We really want to limit the number of test retakes that you're doing. If you're focusing on chapter 1 when the rest of the class has moved on to chapter 2, you're always going to be working from behind, and it's a lot of extra time then that's not well invested in terms of moving forward for your academic success. The other thing to know is that later this week, we'll hand out student planners with textbooks. Those student planners you can be used to keep track of when homework is due, when tests are upcoming, when you're meeting with a student for group work or something else. I know some of you might use an app on your phone. You might have some sort of schedule or a calendar. If you have something that works for you electronically, that's awesome. Make sure you continue to do that. However, if you don't have something that works for you, then we need you to use the planner, because what happens in high school too often with our freshmen, if they're not using something to figure out how they're going to stay organized, they tend not to stay organized. So again, that planner will be handed out to all students later this week. Mr. Thierry would normally introduce this, but all of our activities, we have over 40 different co-curricular opportunities for students. And the most important thing is find something to do to be involved in. We have so many students that are involved in athletics, in clubs, in fine art activities. And the really neat thing is we have a lot of students that are involved in multiple sports. We have a lot of students that are involved in sports and clubs, sports and fine arts. They're just the coaches and advisors work together very well to provide students with the most co-curricular opportunities possible. We have started some fall sports at this point. Some other fall sports we're continuing to monitor for COVID in terms of starting those. And then again, a lot of our co-curriculars within the music area are in the planning phases to be starting. If you have any questions about joining any of the co-curricular opportunities or wondering about clubs, anything that's involved with that, you would want to contact Mr. Thierry or Mrs. Fugina. Two things to think about, and it might be ironic that we're starting high school, but we're talking about college credit, but I don't think there's any time too early to start thinking about how can I make sure that my next steps after high school can be as short as possible, as well as inexpensive as possible. There's two really neat things that we have for you to earn college credit. And this one is actually relevant for some of you starting right away next week. So we offer some courses at OHS taught by our teachers at Onalaska High School through Western Technical College. These courses cost you absolutely nothing. They also cost the high school nothing. This is because of a partnership with Western Technical College. If you earn a C or better in these courses, you've earned Western Technical College credit. So for example, about 90 freshmen are in the Introduction to Business course this year. If you get a C or better in that course, freshmen, that means that you've earned Western Technical College credit. Some of you are going to be in child development this year or infant and toddler development this year. Those courses are also transcripted. So if you earn a C or better, you will also earn college credit within those courses. And you can see there's quite a few other courses available, and we continue to add to this list. The other option that we have is what's called advanced placement classes. Some students, not many, but some will take AP courses as sophomores. Many more will take them as juniors, and quite a few seniors will then take advanced placement courses. The neat thing about this is you take the course here at Onalaska High School in any of these 16 areas. After taking the course in spring, you'll take what's called an advanced placement exam. Last spring, we administered just under 500 of those. And then if you score at a certain level, you have the potential then to earn college credit depending on where you choose to go to college. This is a great way to make sure I'm ready for high school, or excuse me, I'm ready for college, or to find out what I'm doing right now will not make me successful in college, and I need to change some of my behaviors. Either of those are a good option in terms of what I learned from it. Some things to think about before September 1st. Create a space where you can learn with minimal distractions. Sitting on top of your bed is probably not the best spot. That's where your brain is trained to sleep at. You want to pick a spot where there's going to be minimal distractions and you can be as focused as possible. Get your school materials ready for it in advance. Check your email prior to school starting. And again, get in the habit of doing it at least twice a day. Before September 1st, log into your Google Classrooms to make sure that you have access. You can see the Zoom link. You won't be able to actually go into the Zoom link because they won't be set to start until the teacher opens them. And then a really important piece, when you're getting frustrated or confused you're just not understanding something, make sure you go to your teacher's office hours in the afternoons so that you can ask questions and get the support that you want. Don't choose to remain frustrated. Choose to be a self-advocate and get those things figured out. One other key thing is that prior to you coming back to school in person, we will offer opportunities for freshmen to get in the building, to walk through your student schedule, to figure out where all of your classes are, where your locker is, to kind of think about what staircase you're going to use. All of those things we would normally do with freshmen in August, we will provide for freshmen before you come back to school on the first day. Later this week, we have textbook pickup on Thursday and Friday. A sign-up link was sent to students and parents last week, as well as earlier this week. It's going to be in the same spot that students had their pictures taken in the South Fieldhouse. You can come right in through the parking lot, and make sure you bring your backpack. You'll be getting a book for U.S. history. You'll be getting a book for your math class and several other sets of materials, depending on what courses that you have. We have a program called Link Crew. And in Link Crew, what that is Link Crew are juniors and seniors that mentor freshmen. Your Link Crew leader will be contacting you sometime in the next week. Perhaps they already have, depending on when you're watching this. They will also be with you during our homeroom period. I forgot to mention that part earlier, but on Wednesday, we have that homeroom period from 9:15 to 9:45 that is required for all students. And in your homeroom, you'll be with the same group of 13 to 14 freshmen, as well as 2 link leaders and a teacher for all of this year. And then moving forward, you'll be with that same teacher, a group of your peers for your next 3 years at OHS. Some advice from a past class, some of the things they shared for the yearbook: to be yourself. Don't wait until the last minute. Try new activities or classes. You might be someone that's never stepped foot in, for example, the woods classroom. Take a class that you have no experience in whatsoever. Take something that you know nothing about, just so you can experience that type of learning. Focus on a big picture. Be involved. Students frequently share with me, I wish I would have come to more events. I wish I would have tried. I know I'm not comfortable acting, but I wish I would have been comfortable being on stage crew, for example, for the play. Just try different things. And the key thing that they all emphasize, high school goes incredibly fast. Just think about it. In 4 years, you will be out of high school onto whatever it is that you're doing. As you have questions, I welcome you to contact any of the administrators at OHS. The easiest way is likely to go onto our website and find our email addresses, or to contact the counselors from the same location. Freshmen, we're looking forward very much to seeing you next week in your virtual classrooms and for the next 4 years. Welcome, class of 2024.